I'll never be able to get my money back from this. It's possible that Caitlin Clark's European offer will change the WNBA forever. With Caitlin Clark's relocation to Europe seems more imminent, the WNBA is in a panic. Now that Caitlin is going to have a big impact in the WNBA, maybe you ought to have thought about treating your big star with a little more respect. Without CC, who will watch? These are the people Caitlin had to deal with you during the season because you are inexperienced and incapable of running the WNBA. And look what happened. The WNBA was in ruins as Caitlin Clark's career so far blasted her way past broken records like there was no tomorrow. Caitlin had no choice but to follow these analysts. She needs a fresh start in a league that truly appreciates its top players and doesn't single them out because the constant animosity toward her is enough. Caitlin Clark has reportedly been presented with an amazing contract offer to perform in Europe. And although it seems like she is willing to accept, there is more to the story. Caitlin Clark has encountered numerous difficulties in the WNBA. From the league's incapacity to sufficiently protect its star players to the absence of appropriate support on the court, despite all the attention, admiration, and undeniable influence she has had on the sport. These difficulties have led to what may be one of the most startling job choices in history. After experiencing several difficulties, Caitlin has finally had enough of the WNBA's treatment of her and is now deciding to quit the league. The WNBA might be rocked to its foundation by the shockwaves that could result from her departure. Caitlin Clark's choice to leave the WNBA and relocate to Europe. Clearly, Caitlin Clark has had enough. The WNBA hasn't always treated Clark with the deference and consideration that a player of her caliber merits. And we've repeatedly seen opponents get away with employing excessive aggressiveness while guarding her, often going insane contract offer explained overboard with aggressive and occasionally hazardous play. It's almost as though the league has allowed these techniques to persist. Whether it's the lack of protection on the court, the persistent targeting by other players, or the league's seeming indifference. Given that Clark's presence on the floor draws attention and boosts viewing, one could even claim that the WNBA has permitted this behavior to continue. A little controversy does, after all, get people talking. But Caitlin feels that the lack of protection has gone too far. Little to nothing has changed despite the outrage on social media from her admirers who have been calling for greater protection, justice, and respect for their favorite athlete. It seems as though the league didn't care enough to make the required adjustments and Clark feels abandoned. And now Caitlin Clark is finally listening to her fans after going through season after season of unfairly being picked out and mistreated. She has decided to take control of her career by leaving the WNBA since she has had enough of the league's disregard as her why Europe over WNBA? Immense talent, dedication, and impact on the game have long been acknowledged. Clark is looking for a new chapter in her life. Now, let's talk about the repercussions. There is no need to sugarcoat the fact that the WNBA is on the verge of a major downturn, and the reason for this is because they failed to recognize Caitlin Clark's critical role in the league's success. The WNBA would instantly suffer financially and in terms of viewership without Clark. Everyone watched Caitlin Clark whenever she was on the court since she was a major attraction for the league, regardless of whether they were casual watchers or ardent basketball fans. Her departure has left the WNBA with the enormous job of filling the hole. It's true that the league has other gifted athletes like DJ Carrington and Angel Ree, but let's be honest, they lack Clark's strength and personality. They are both amazing athletes, so this is not meant to minimize their skill. But Caitlin Clark was performing at a completely different level. People were drawn to her because of her fearless shooting ability to dominate games and her competitive nature, making her a must-watch athlete. She wasn't just a player, she was a movement. The WNBA is only now realizing how much of an impact Caitlin Clark has had. If she were to leave, the league would lose millions of dollars in sponsorships, TV deals, ticket sales, and merchandising. The cost will be enormous. And to make matters worse, it was entirely fan and media reactions preventable. The league had every chance to protect Caitlin on the court, show her the respect she deserved as the league spokesperson, and give her the assistance she required. But they will now be held accountable for allowing issues to worsen since the WNBA will soon find out how much they lost. Caitlin's exit is a sea change that might have catastrophic consequences for the league's future in Europe. What precisely has been promised to Caitlin Clark? The staggering amounts that are being thrown about would stop anyone cold. Several sources claim that the contract she has been guaranteed is far more than the WNBA has ever provided in the EuroLeague, where players are treated like kings and queens. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for Caitlin. She made the decision to move overseas since she would not only be making a lot more money, but also have the benefit of playing less games, which would allow her more time to relax, recover, and play at her best. 3. Caitlin is being offered the chance to represent the league as a whole by Europe in addition to a contract. Imagine Caitlin walking onto the court as the lights go down and thousands of people applaud her loudly. In such packed settings, the energy is palpable. The EuroLeague is prepared to make her the center of their brand and treat her like the global superstar she is because they know that these supporters are rooting for her. As she WNBA's big problem after Clark's decision takes a deep three, the stadium echoes with every cheer from the audience. But this time, it's different. Do you care how it feels? In addition to providing Caitlin with a new platform to dominate, Europe is working to establish her as the biggest basketball star in the world, with arenas packed with devoted fans who cheer and admire her every move. As Caitlin Clark gets ready to embark on a new chapter of brilliance, Europe is ready to make sure she shines brighter than ever before. But she isn't the only one making noteworthy progress. By taking the same path, other WNBA players are starting to look for greater opportunities. Overseas, for example, it has been reported that Caitlin is traveling to Europe, while Alyssa Smith and Kelsey Mitchell have decided to spend their off-season playing in China. In terms of salary and player experience, the WNBA's pay structure simply cannot compete with what international leagues are providing. As more WNBA players realize that playing abroad not only offers much higher compensation, but also better treatment overall, this trend is quickly growing. Players like Caitlin, Kelsey, and Melissa are seeing the advantages of fewer games, more rest, and higher earnings, making the decision to play internationally almost a no-brainer when you compare the schedule's compensation and player care offered overseas. It's easy to understand why more athletes are choosing this path. Whilst all this is going out, Jason Whitlock believes Caitlin should star an unrivaled legal league where the best of the best compete against each other in the off-break of the WNBA. This would lead to players like Kelsey Mitchell and Alyssa Smith not needing to travel abroad to earn their wage. Instead, they can make their money in America with an unrivaled league full of talent. This will give what this means for women's basketball globally players better opportunity, and they will be able to make something out of this rise of talent in the women's game. We have some incredible prospects coming through yet. They aren't going to receive the pay they deserve. Instead, they will have to generate their income through sponsorships, but this unrivaled league idea adds a whole different spectrum to the table. Back to Caitlin Clark and the WNBA. This shift should, final thoughts, serve as a massive wake-up call for the women's basketball. The league is at serious risk of losing not just Caitlin Clark but other top players as well if the WNBA doesn't step up and reevaluate how they compensate and treat their athletes. They could face a mass players no longer have to accept less when international leagues are willing to offer them so much more. The WNBA must quickly reevaluate its goals if it hopes to prevent an even greater talent drain in the future. Molly, I said. Really, Molly? The WNBA didn't seem to make a lot of effort to keep Caitlin Clark. There was no big offer, no big gesture, and nothing to demonstrate how valuable she was to the league. Instead, they essentially let her go without a fight, which is a perplexing decision. Wow, that may be the most shocking part of this whole situation. Even though Clark was a once-in-a-generation talent and had the potential to be the biggest star in American sports, the WNBA let her slide through their fingers. For a league that has been putting a lot of effort into growing its fan base and competing on a larger scale, this is a huge error. This decision will undoubtedly be regretted by the WNBA and have a detrimental effect on their financial performance. The Caitlin Clark effect was real. She was bringing the league's profile up on her own, attracting new fans and igniting excitement unlike any other player in recent memory. Her departure forces the WNBA to confront the unpleasant reality that they are no longer the premier destination for the world's best players. The league hadn't experienced such a high level of interest and excitement in years, but Clark was starting to gain notoriety. Other leagues are offering better contracts because they get better treatment and play fewer games. The WNBA argues that the Premier League in women's basketball is now in jeopardy because of Caitlin Clark's exit, making them a more desirable option. To recover from this loss, they will have to work very hard. With Caitlin Clark leaving for Europe, the whole basketball landscape is set to shift. She has a fantastic opportunity to advance her career in an environment where her talent will be fully acknowledged and